Back yesterday, we all found out that former First Lady Rosalyn Carter has been diagnosed with dementia. The Carter Center released a statement about her condition, and the last sentence of that statement said, quote, 1 in 10 older Americans have dementia, a condition that affects overall mental health. So this Wellness Wednesday, we are digging deeper into what dementia is and how you can best help a loved one who has been diagnosed. Mary Jo Horton is here to help us all better understand dementia. So let's start with, what is dementia? And to be clear, dementia and Alzheimer's, different things.
Different things. So the idea of dementia is a broader term, whereas Alzheimer's is a very specific disorder.
Okay, all right. So when we're talking about dementia, what are some of the symptoms that we notice with that?
So, not just your short-term memory, which I think is what a lot of people think about, but you're also going to see an alteration in being able to problem solve and reason, as well as just general orientation to time, place, and context.
Okay.
It's more than just not remembering the little things.
Yeah. Is there a certain age when we should start looking for symptoms, or not really?
So, there are people that are diagnosed earlier in life. I would say, for women, once you're past menopause, it's so sad to say. Anyway, as I get older, different things bother me. But certainly after menopause, women need to really start paying attention to their mental health.
Okay.
I think when you really think about it, like when people are starting to retire or stepping back, unfortunately, it coincides that period of time in life with changes in the brain.
Okay. So now you were saying in the notes when we were talking about this, intervention is key. So what do you mean by intervention, and
so
why?
You really want to get a proper diagnosis when you are first concerned. The earlier you're diagnosed, the better interventions there are. There are certainly interventions with medication that's not a cure, but can slow the disease process down. But also when we think about speech, memory, cognition, there are interventions around making sure that we're staying as active in the brain as possible in order to minimize some of the progression of the disease.
And so this is you noticing it in yourself, but also your loved ones if they notice it too.
So this is why I mentioned that, because it corresponds when we're having a change in functioning in life, it leaves us very vulnerable. Because if we went from being active and working all the time to being home, we are leaving ourselves vulnerable to not having those people around us notice changes in us.
See, and that's part of why it's so terrifying for people, is because you go through, you get to retirement, like you were saying, and you're supposed to be a happy whatever, and you have all this time, and then you start to notice.
And when people retire, even if it's something that they were looking forward to and choose, there's still a lot of anxiety. It still is going to increase our sense of loss, because it is a loss, a change in our life. And then so we have these vulnerabilities of mental health symptoms increasing, and then our brain may start to have some disease progression.
Oh my gosh, okay. So let's talk about some ways that you can care for a loved one. If you start to notice dementia and they are full-on dementia. So we're talking about help someone avoid isolation, encourage them to have increased activity.
So we don't want to then kind of parentify them and then overly huddle over them and hover. We want them to engage and be active and be social and do all the things that they possibly can do.
Okay, resist arguing about, loved one's memory. And I have seen this play out before, because it can be frustrating at first.
It is frustrating, but you know what? If it's not a life or death issue, if this person believes something that's not legitimately true, what is the goal in arguing with them? You're really just causing them more distress. And then once they realize that they're not remembering correctly, they often become agitated, irritable, and now we have a lot of conflict.
So try not to do the, no, Dad, you remember it was this, and try not to do that.
Yes.
Okay, and then lean into self-care and set realistic expectations.
We know that there's a lot of stress that comes into caregiving. We also want to set expectations for ourselves. We're not going to fix them and take care of everything. We want to balance everyone's quality of life with everybody being able to lean on each other.
All right, and so treatment, of course, you say works, but I love this, hope and love.
Optimistic mindset people who believe that hope and change is possible have better medical outcomes. We know this. And so how we're looking at something, we also really want to make sure that we are keeping our emotional well full.
Yeah.
And so we're not trying to pour from an empty pitcher.
Okay, and hope and optimism can be hard to hang on to in a situation like this.
Absolutely, but people do still have good quality of life and experiences, and we don't have to just think of it as an emotional death sentence.
Okay, I love that. Don't think of it like that. Mary Jo, as always, thank you so much. And if you want to see any of our segments, you can go to wsav.com/Wellness Wednesday.